FlexJobs is the #1 job site to find remote work.
sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way. Birds jumping and I hear my name, grasping into life. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a start. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah. Lion's gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Kids across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah.
of that health and safety briefing to keep all of us safe and really aware of our surroundings. And good morning on another cold winter's day in Johannesburg. I must say that as much as winter happens every year, I will always complain every day until summer shows her beautiful face again. And I'm also here to advocate for news anchors, for us to normalize news anchors broadcasting and hosting events live from our warm beds. But besides my unhappiness with the cold, I'm really, really happy to be here. My name is Zinati Guma, a business news anchor from Business Day TV, and I have the incredible honor of being your MC and panel moderator for this event. This is the media launch of the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook for 2025, hosted by the Gauteng Provincial Treasury in conjunction with EY. And of course, this is an inaugural report in the Gauteng province. So a very warm welcome to all stakeholders, including members of the Gauteng Provincial Government, the Gauteng Treasury. A special welcome to Honorable Lebogang Maile, the MEC for Finance and Economic Development, and representatives from all spheres of government. I'd also like to welcome representatives from the private sector, and of course I cannot forget to give a warm welcome to my colleagues, the members of the media. And I'd like to extend gratitude to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange for opening its doors for the conversations that will be had today. All protocols observed. This is a hybrid event, so we have the physical audience joining us right here at the JSC, but we also have stakeholders that are joining us online, and the event is being broadcast live on the department and partner social media platforms. So what we're really here to do is to comb through the socio-economic conditions and trends playing out in key municipalities of the Gauteng province. Of course, we know that that is the engine of the economy, and we really want to get to the meat and potatoes of that should shape policy, planning, budgeting, and resource allocation as a whole. So just to run you through the program today, we will be getting the welcoming remark from Vuyo Lee, who is the Director of Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the JSC. And then we'll be getting input from the MEC, Honorable Lebogang Maile. And then we will move on to the presentation of the MERO report for 2025. Of course, that was done with EY being commissioned for the report. We will be getting that from Angelica Golika from EY. And then, of course, we must have a discussion and constructive conversation. And so we will be having a panel discussion that I will be facilitating on the data and really the impact of that data on resource allocation in the province. We will be getting a panel of experts right here with me. And of course, we also want to give the audience a chance to engage as well. We want this to be as engaging and as interactive as possible. You are not just here to listen to us with our monologues. We do want your questions coming through, so we will be having a question and answer session so that all your questions can be answered on the MERO report and its impact going forward. And then we will be getting a vote of thanks from Ngumi Samnyani, the HOD at the Gauteng Provincial Treasury. So looking forward to very, very constructive conversations today and interaction. But first up, to get the program running, I'd like to welcome Ms. Vuyo, as I mentioned, the Director of Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the JSC, for the welcome remark.
Honorable MEC Lebogang Maile, representatives from the Gauteng Provincial Government, representatives from the Gauteng Provincial Treasury, members of the media, distinguished guests, good morning, and all protocols observed. It is a pleasure to be with you today for the launch of the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook 2025, MERO in short, a publication that offers valuable insights into Gauteng's economic landscape and provides a valuable foundation for planning, policy, and progress. As South Africa's economic engine, Gauteng stands as a regional powerhouse and a vital contributor to the country's position in the global markets. Its influence is far-reaching, driving innovation, shaping investment trends, and anchoring a national growth narrative. And it's within this dynamic that MERO plays a defining role. It serves as a strategic lens through which we examine the economic realities of our municipalities. It offers valuable insights to strengthen governance, boost township economies, and enhance investment across Gauteng's development corridors. And in support of this vision, we as the JSE are proud to play our role and to welcome you here today. In the SME space, we at the JSE provide targeted platforms such as the JSE Private Placements and JSE Rise, which is our SME development program, which is designed to unlock growth, expand access to funding, and drive job creation. In the last 2 years, we have hosted a capital matching roadshow across different provinces in the country, and we are proud to say that this year we'll be hosting our very first Gauteng capital matching roadshow, which will provide Gauteng-based SMEs with the opportunity to meet funders who are looking for worthwhile investments. These efforts are central to strengthening South Africa's SME sector, which remains the vital engine of economic resilience and transformation. Over and above that, we host the South African Tomorrow Investor Conference, both in New York in October and then in December in London, where we showcase South Africa as an investment destination of choice for emerging market investors. The JSE also leads efforts to enhance South Africa's financial market competitiveness. Our Group CEO, Leila Fourie, is the chairman of Operation Phumelela, which is known as the South African Sector Competitiveness Task Force, which brings together government, regulators, industry to deepen capital markets and position South Africa as a regional financial hub. Internationally, Leila also represents South Africa at the G20 Sustainable Finance Working Group, helping shape global frameworks for sustainable finance. We do this because at the heart of the JSE's efforts lies a steadfast commitment to cultivating a diversified, inclusive, and future-ready marketplace, one that champions resilience, transparency, and shared prosperity across South Africa's financial ecosystems. Through the maintenance of a robust regulatory framework, the introduction of innovative products and services, and the creation of an enabling and inclusive environment for capital raising, the JSE continues to reinforce its role as a key driver of economic growth and transformation in South Africa. I look forward to the panel discussions ahead and the insights that will be revealed from the MERO. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this important engagement, and I hope you have a wonderful day further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and really it is important that we celebrate this partnership with the JSE and the public sector because, of course, as we're trying to really move the needle on the economy, we do need platforms like this so that we can match capital with need. And so I would like to call upon the Honorable Lebogang Maile, MEC for Finance and Economic Development, to give us his input on the MERO.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me start by thanking our hosts, the marketing director of JSE. I mean, you always host us where you know we are always welcome, and we are very happy that this has become our home as the economic hub of the country. So we are always happy to be hosted by yourselves. Convey our gratitude to the CEO, who's always available to engage with us as well. I would also like to acknowledge the executive mayors who are present with us here today. We've got several. We've got several members of the mayoral committees responsible for finance, responsible for economic development in our province. I think one of the important stakeholders that are missing, DDG Vetboy, that I was thinking about, it's the various departments of economy in the universities. I don't think we can have this conversation without them. So we need to find a way of including them in the discussion. I don't know how we omitted them, because I think that's a very important stakeholders. We like to acknowledge the head of department, the senior managers of government from all the different departments and agencies that are here. We also want to acknowledge the chief economist at the Ernst & Young, Miss Angelica Kolika, and city managers and municipal managers who are here, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, leaders of business, labor, academic, and civil society, and the residents of Gauteng, most importantly. It is a great honor to stand before you this morning on this occasion to launch the first ever Municipal Economic Review and Outlook report for the Gauteng province. The MERO provides a comprehensive analysis and projection of the socio-economic conditions and trends amongst municipalities in Gauteng. There are several reasons why such a review is crucial. But before I delve into the significance of the MERO, it is important to provide an overview of the demographics and political economy of the province. As you know, that Gauteng, despite being the smallest province in South Africa by land mass, accounting for only 1.5% of the country's land area, it is the most populous province in the country, with more than a quarter of the national population living here. So latest data indicates that 16.4 million of the country's population of just over 64 million resides in Gauteng. And Gauteng is home to 3 of South Africa's category A municipalities or metros. And I'm glad that all of them are represented here today. I saw MMC Zabati, I saw MMC Mabuja, and I think MMC Arnold. So all the 3 metros are present here today. It's very important. And the city of, which is the city of Johannesburg, Tshwane, and the city of Ekurhuleni, the administrative capital of South Africa, is also located in Gauteng, as we all know. As a result, the province is host to hundreds of embassies and consulates, with Tshwane alone being home to about 134 embassies, MMC, and high commissions. Beyond its political significance, Gauteng is also the nerve center of the South African economy, contributing a third of the national gross domestic product. Gauteng generates just over 10% of the GDP of sub-Saharan Africa and accounts for 7% of the entire continent's GDP. The province is the hub of the financial, manufacturing, transport, technology, and telecommunication sectors, amongst others. Beyond being home to headquarters of some of the biggest companies in the world, it also plays host to a large number of overseas companies, requiring a commercial base and gateway to Africa. I provide this background to demonstrate the undebatable importance of the Gauteng province, not only in South Africa, but in the broader African Union and the global South. The importance of Gauteng means that planning must be at the center of its development, and by extension, the development of South Africa and the entire continent. The MERO provides a unique and comprehensive status update on the province, which allows for evidence-based planning, policy making, and budgeting. In examining prevailing global, national, and provincial developments, they are likely to shape the economic trajectory of Gauteng and its districts, metropolitan and local municipalities. The MERO enables both the provincial and local government to develop context-specific interventions needed to build stronger municipalities for a stronger nation and region. This is in alignment with the Grow Gauteng Together 2030, which is GGT 2030 strategy that is anchored on the transformation, modernization, and re-industrialization of the Gauteng economy. The MERO is important not only for the Gauteng provincial government, but for other institutions of government, including the South African Revenue Service. This is because the report unpacks relevant statistics on GDPR and jobs at the municipal level, adding to the SARS spatial tax database, or rather the data set. This spatial tax data is crucial for understanding and addressing economic and social challenges in South Africa. It allows for granular analysis of economic activity across different geographic areas, enabling targeted interventions and policy development. This data helps in identifying areas of economic growth and decline, understanding the impact of economic shocks, and informing policy decisions related to job creation, infrastructure development, and service delivery. In a province that is battling with crime, whose alleviation has been identified as a key priority for the provincial government, the MERO reports comprehensive analysis of the safety and well-being in Gauteng is especially critical. The MERO provides an overview of the health, safety, and well-being in all districts, metropolitan and local municipalities, by looking socio-economic indicators such as population statistics, poverty, inequality, and unemployment, as well as health, education, access to housing, and crime. Understanding these issues at the statistical level is important not only for the government, but for the private sector and investors as well. Ladies and gentlemen, situating the MERO report in the context of the 7th administration's priorities, it is important. But perhaps more important is understanding that MERO is a critical instrument for the development of Gauteng and South Africa's economy and improvement of the living conditions of the people. Our quest to build a sustainable future for all and to create a society characterized by equality, social justice, and prosperity as envisioned in GGT 2030 depends on the availability of scientific data that informs planning and budgeting. As Ms. Angelica Golika, the Africa's chief economist at Ernst & Young, readies herself to present a comprehensive outline of the MERO, it is important to stress that this partnership between the Gauteng provincial government and Ernst & Young is a blueprint for the public-private partnership approach that we envision for the province. The private sector is a critical stakeholder in Gauteng, and we as a government recognize that our efforts to facilitate development and sustainable economic growth cannot be achieved without its involvement. We are deeply thankful to Ernst & Young for recognizing the significant role that municipalities play in the future of Gauteng. Municipalities are crucial in South Africa for providing essential services, fostering economic development, and ensuring democratic governance at the local level. They are the first point of contact for citizens. regarding service delivery and local governance issues. For municipalities to plan and budget efficiently, credible data such as that provided by the MERO report must be available. We must continue to build stronger and better communities in Gauteng, and to do so hand in hand with all sectors. Just as challenges that we confront affect us all, so too does shared prosperity benefits us all. So I hope we are going to have fruitful deliberations. I was not presenting the MERO. I was just prepared. So don't think it's the MERO, what I was presenting. I was just introducing Angela to come and present, because I saw everyone listening attentively. And you are sure that I'm presenting. No, I was not presenting. So MMCs were attentive and trying to take notes. I think now is the time to be attentive, but I'll hand over to the program director. Thank you very much.
And indeed, the MEC was just giving us the bones. So Angelica will be coming to put the meat on the bones of this data that has come out for the MERO. Of course, it really is very important, as the MEC said, to really dive into a granular analysis of what is happening in the municipalities for us to actually get a full picture of the economic landscape in the country. And of course, looking at this data, we also need to look at how credible it is in order for to drive evidence-based planning and resource allocation. So, Angelica,
Great.
over to you.
No, thank you very much, and thank you to the Honourable MEC Lebogang Maile for the great words and kind of the warm-up to this presentation. And also, it's wonderful to be in such an esteemed audience. I think it's really fantastic, and we're all super excited, I think, firstly to present your MERO as, Gauteng government officials, right? But it's also our MERO as citizens of Gauteng. So it's incredibly exciting to be at this point. And it's been, echoed, this is an incredibly important document as it really brings together all of the data points that exist in various sources across South Africa to really paint a picture. And I always say, one, data point is not enough. You've really got to try and triangulate with various sources, and including also like qualitative information, right, from what you as yourselves see on the ground, right? And this MERO, this is the first one. I'd say it's an infant MERO document, but it's going to, as time goes on, it's going to grow as citizens and you as government officials become more and more engaged in it and contribute to it. So it's quite exciting how this can, develop going forward. So yes, it's essentially comprises of 5 reports, 3 covering the metros, right? And then we've got 2 for the 2 district municipalities, the West Rand and Sedibeng. And each MERO, so as the Honourable MEC highlighted, he was just giving a taste. I'm just going to give a slightly extended taste because each report is about 150 pages. So we would be here all day if I had to present it. But this is really just scratching the surface of what, and there's so much more to unpack in each one. So I definitely encourage you to get into particularly at least the one that matters more to your region. So the breakdown across the 3 reports is really the first section, which is section A, and that covers the global environment, right? So that is the setting for, because everything what happens globally impacts us on the ground, right? So that's really important to understand what's happening globally, also at a national economic level. And then we get to section B, which is the kind of economic section. So it really covers, the GDPR, employment trends, what we're seeing in investment, right? All of those kind of statistics. And then section C, which is, of course, really important. So it's almost how these, economic factors come to affect us as citizens, right? And so we see all of those factors over there, and it covers elements like safety, health, education, and all of that. So it's really sort of a great compendium of data that is there, right? And just to have it accessible, right, for as many people as possible. And I think DDG's vision was really around having something that students, for example, can access and learn about. And I think this is really the start of that. So if we go over, in terms of what's the purpose of the MERO, right? So as I said, it recombines various bits of information, whether it's from Stats SA or it's, the provincial data, so, contacting various departments to provide data, and publicly available information, as well as research and sort of academic literature. Then it's involved really around bringing all this data together, say triangulating it, what do the trends say, and then kind of bringing it into this output that's these reports, right, that are user-friendly, kind of easy to disseminate, right? But ultimately, right, what is the purpose? It kind of provides an as-is situation, right, of the Gauteng province. It enables some benchmarking between Gauteng and other regions, right, and also within districts and metros within the province, and also just helps us create an informed outlook in terms of what the situation could be like for the province sort of in the near term. But ultimately, right, what is the ultimate goal of this of the MERO? Is to actually ensure sort of data-informed policy development, right, and have this evidence backing all the decisions that are made in provincial government. Help enhance budgeting, planning, and coordination, right, to make sure investments are being made in the right areas, right. Having a high-level monitoring of interventions, right. And we know it's really difficult also to solve what you don't understand, right? So it's really important in gaining an understanding of the province, and then trying to and also testing how interventions are impacting the province. And as the Honourable MEC said, it really ties in together with the growing Gauteng Together strategy around having this kind of modernized, transformed economy in Gauteng. So let's just, getting into section A. So really what's happening, right, that informs this environment? Of course, we know that economic growth is subdued, right? We've seen the numbers come out from Stats SA. And this is, of course, in this really difficult global context. It's not just South Africa. Economic growth for the globe is subdued, right? We're seeing with all the trade dynamics going on. And then the other thing that's really started emerging in the last few years is climate change as this kind of risk to the economy, right, of South Africa and globally. And we've seen with unfortunate events as a result of flooding in South Africa recently. And of course, there's these trends and shifts around moving towards green energy, and the growing importance of the digital economy, of cybersecurity, and all of that. And then, of course, the kind of around the AFTA, right, regional trade integration as being key for Africa's and South Africa's growth. And then this kind of pace that goes into the context of South Africa, right? Relatively slow job recovery, continued, at the moment, uncertainty around interest rates, right? We're seeing that. There's risks related to climate change, as I mentioned, and electricity costs, right, rising. So this is the kind of context with which we need to think through the lens of how this impacts the Gauteng province. So I said I'll give you a taste of each of the reports. I'll first focus on the three key metros, one by one. And I think the vision really for these reports was to have them look, say, consistent from a Gauteng perspective, but really each report needs to speak to the dynamism of each of the districts and metros. And I think it's quite informative, actually. As you go into it, you really get a feel for these different regions and what makes them unique, which is quite special. So the first one is the city of Tshwane. As I said, I'll just run through this at quite a high level. But we really see that the city of Tshwane's economy is dominated by the tertiary sector. So that's sort of the services, financial, and government sector. There's, which contributes around 63% to the GDP of the province, of the city, and employs 73% of the workforce. So we do see, high unemployment is a challenge, right? And we saw that, high growth in the province is not really linked, sufficiently matched with job opportunities. We saw actually, and this is quite a commonality across most of the reports, is actually that the fastest growing sectors in the year we looked at was transport, storage, and communication, so kind of showing that evolution there. And we did see, of course, in the data, electricity and water sectors facing infrastructure and supply issues. What's also interesting is that the City of Tshwane actually has quite a strong sort of export-led economy. And this we really see, in some of the nodes and hubs of manufacturing. For example, like we see in the automotive industry, so like the Roslyn and the SEZ there, right, for the automotive sector. And so we've seen kind of this trade surplus, actually, the City of Tshwane has with, for example, ties to China and Germany, which is quite interesting and not something one always thinks about, right? When you think about Tshwane, you always think about the seat of government. And also we're actually seeing, interestingly, high-tech sectors starting to develop, particularly in nodes around, for example, Menlyn Main. And so what's also interesting is that City of Tshwane is trying to leverage more its sort of status as a tourism spot, right, given its heritage and history. So really kind of seeing efforts to grow this sector. So if we go onto sort of the more demographic perspective of the City of Tshwane, the population reached around 4 million in 2024, and it's growing actually faster than the average for Gauteng province of 1.9%. We are seeing this kind of rapid urbanization happening, and this is actually placing pressure on services, right, in the City of Tshwane. And we do see actually 43% of Tshwane's population falls below the food poverty line. So there's kind of this highlighting the really need to focus on these targeted interventions to support particularly households that are most at risk and most vulnerable. On the good news, we're seeing kind of health outcomes improving when it comes to neonatal care and malnutrition amongst children. But there is some challenges we're seeing in the data in terms of immunization coverage, rising child obesity, and teenage pregnancy. So this kind of starts speaking to interventions at, for example, focused on youth reproductive health. And yes, and we are seeing also, when we look at the stats in terms of access to basic services, so this is like waste removal, water, electricity, and sewage, that's actually we're seeing an improvement there. But we are seeing, of course, kind of increased rates of water interruptions happening. And then if we go over to the City of Johannesburg, from an economic perspective, it contributes 40% to the Gauteng economy, with its tertiary sector being the kind of largest contributor to the economy and also to employment, which is quite critical. We saw, economic growth in the city kind of resuming in 2021 post the pandemic, but the unemployment rate still remains quite high at 28.3% in 2023. Again, transport, storage, and communication, the kind of common trend as showing particularly good growth in the year. But we do see, of course, challenges faced, with the mining industry, and so we do see some kind of change, some changes, some challenges in the GDP coming through there. We do see that City of Johannesburg's economy is expected to grow by 2.4% in 2024. This was at the time forecasted last year. So there's likely to be some moderation given the kind of economic outlook. But we do see, it's still really critical, City of Johannesburg, in terms of its contribution to investment in the province. So it really is this kind of key driver of Gauteng province's growth. If we look at it from a demographic perspective, the population is actually in line, population expected growth is in line with the overall Gauteng province trend of 1.9%. And it is the biggest metro by population size in South Africa, as the MEC said. We actually have seen on the positive side in the data neonatal mortality rates actually decreasing, but the rate of live births is higher than the provincial average. So we're kind of seeing this is indication that there needs to be lots more investment in healthcare, right? And also positively, we've seen quite a strong increase in access to basic services in the 10 years between 2013 and 2023. Unfortunately, maternal mortality has increased between 2016 and 2023, again highlighting a sort of need for emphasis around maternal care. And again, the challenges around intermittent supply of basic services and infrastructure still remains a challenge. In terms of the city of Ekurhuleni and for the economy, it really is like quite I think is sometimes maybe under acknowledged, right? It's quite a key economic engine of Gauteng province. And it contributes 20% to the province's output. And you see it's also got a really strong manufacturing sector component. And we actually saw kind of recovery in employment in this city. But of course, these structural constraints that affect many other regions also are impacting on the city of Ekurhuleni. There's the one also challenge is that there's quite a strong reliance on imports of industrial goods. And so what's sort of an opportunity here to create is focusing on localizing some of these supply chains, right? And kind of bring a lot more of the value chain within the region and have also spillover effects into other parts of the province. So, overall, it's quite important to kind of continue targeting investment in infrastructure to support the industries located there and, encouraging industrial innovation, because really to kind of not lose this momentum and this industry that's there. And if you look on the social side, it's home to around a quarter of Gauteng's population. And so we have seen some, the unemployment rate rising, unfortunately. And 1 in 3 residents in the city of Ekurhuleni in the data live below the food poverty line. So it shows really, again, this kind of need to focus on the vulnerable citizens in the city. We actually see some improvement overall in the health outcomes in the city, but there is still challenges around maternal and neonatal care. Basic, services access has improved overall, but we saw some, small decline in the refuse removal element of basic services. And we just see, again, this kind of large economically active population that's present in this metro kind of makes it, as potential for the strong labor hub, right? And again, links to the importance of bringing in the value chains into the city. If we move over to the district, so yes, we look at so the metros, it's, at a metro level, and what's really nice is at the districts, we're able to unpack at each of the individual municipalities within each district. So there's quite a lot more, more nuanced data there. So I said it's quite a long read, but worth your while if you're interested in a particular district. So in terms of the West Rand, and I'll just give the highlights at an overall district level. West Rand's economy is dominated by the tertiary sector, which contributes around 62% to its GDP and contributes almost 3/4 of its workforce. We saw again, kind of strong growth in transport and communications sector, but we actually, saw again electricity and water and gas in 2023 really highlighted by those supply constraints. Mogale City is actually the main driver of West Rand's employment, and Rand West actually has the largest contribution to the district's economy thanks to its industrial and commercial base. And Rand West City, Mogale City and MERO are all expected to actually see robust GDP growth, and Rand West City actually expects to have the strongest growth. But we are seeing, in terms of trade, right, this quite nice level of statistics, which you can see at that level, it actually has a weakening trade surplus. And it's largely actually due to the rand that weakened over the period and reduced competitiveness. Okay, if we look onto the demographics, so we actually saw an increased sort of trend in household numbers, which suggests smaller household sizes, right, coming together. Unemployment rate remained high, reaching 29.2%. We kind of see in the West Rand kind of mixed progress in terms of health. Maternal care is improving, but we saw neonatal deaths and teenage pregnancy rates rising. Access to basic services like electricity, water, and sanitation has improved, but again, challenges around refuse removal are seen. And there are particularly, challenges called out in terms of, aging infrastructure, vandalism of infrastructure, and budget constraints. High levels of unemployment have also impacted on household affordability and ability of households, right, to pay for these essential services. And it's kind of this cycle that happens as households are not able to pay, then it becomes a challenge for the government to provide these services. So we are kind of seeing this overall trend of this kind of challenge. And finally, if we look over onto Sedibeng, overall, it's the fourth largest contributor to Gauteng's economy. And what's quite interesting is that its economy is also quite kind of different industries kind of contribute to the overall economy. So it's quite it's quite varied contributors, which is really good. But it is broadly still service-led, with manufacturing being quite important. Manufacturing is actually the largest contributor to GDP, providing around 27%, and also provides about 17% of jobs. We have seen some modest growth in Sedibeng, but unfortunately, unemployment's quite a challenge, kind of at above 42% after 2020. Again, we saw kind of the growth in the transport and storage sectors, and we are expecting the Lesedi, Midvaal, and Mfuleni municipalities to record kind of strong GDP growth over the forecast period, particularly with Lesedi kind of showing the most, the largest, fastest growth. And if we look over onto the social and demographic highlights, population's actually been quite a bit slower for Sedibeng compared to kind of the overall population growth for province. So it grew around 1.3% in 2023, and kind of reflecting some of these economic challenges as people might move out of the district, district. And we're also seeing, unfortunately, rising number of indigent households, which kind of again signals these socioeconomic pressures on people. And it's kind of saw quite a big spike in indigent households between 2012 and 2022. But overall, we are actually seeing, which is quite good, health outcomes are improving. But there are still challenges around maternal care and teenage pregnancy. Okay, and then kind of there's a few things to pick up. There's a lot to unpack in each of these reports, right? And I think this is kind of the very first step of that. But kind of broadly, some of the threads one can pick up through them. Didn't cover it much in these slides, but we are actually there's really kind of a clear data around education, right? So that's really an important element, and also the skills development, right, to ensure employable citizens, around continued enhanced sustainable infrastructure investment and development, and importance of international trade and tourism, and I think that's often underappreciated in Gauteng. So I think that's really quite an important growth driver of the economy. Focus on housing and basic services, crime prevention and safety is critical. And again, informal sector development enhancement. And I think this is a particular area that's probably in this round of the report that wasn't much data. It's a really understudied element. The economy kind of consistent data is quite challenging, and I think this is something to really focus on in future editions of the reports. And of course, energy stability is always critical, and self-financing of capital expansions. So this is really kind of bringing all the bits of data, and I said, data on its own, it doesn't do anything, right? It just sits there in an Excel spreadsheet. And I think it's important now that it's handed over to policymakers and citizens of these economies, right? It's to understand what's driving these trends, understand how we can improve the lives, and I think as MEC highlighted is that at this local government level, it's really this is what people experience, right, in the day-to-day. Yes, you have these, scary global economic, political, geopolitical environment, but really it's what happens on the day-to-day that impacts people's, lives and the decisions they make. And I think this is just the first step. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I do hope you'll be reading these in the next few weeks. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for those insights, Angelica, just really giving us the meat and potatoes of that data. I think for me, one thing that has stood out is that there are different challenges and different opportunities in the different municipalities. So it would seem that policy needs to cater to that. And I think for the different municipalities to have their own specific agendas for the economy. And also really a lot of the data really speaks to the data that we know on a national level as well. The fact that economic growth, as much as there are green shoots in some of the municipalities, that's not really translating to job opportunities. So it is going to be quite interesting to hear insights from the policymakers that I will have with me on this stage. So I would like for them to come up. We do have Owen Witbooi, DDG for Municipal Finance Management, Margaret Arnold, MMC for Finance at the City of Joburg, and Professor Onkgopotse Madumo from the University of Pretoria. And I'd like my panel of experts to come up on stage. Oh, it's just okay. I do hear that it is just the two of you, but it's all right. I'm sure that we will get everything that we need from you two gentlemen. This is the inaugural report for MERO in the Gauteng province. And I'd really like to know, firstly, starting with you, Mr. Witbooi, just what you've taken out of the MERO in terms of how things should move forward, in terms of moving the needle for economic growth and really taking people from a social standpoint to an elevated level.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and apologies for my voice. I think everybody is struggling with a bit of flu.
We're all recovering.
Yes. No, but thank you very much. I think for us, this Municipal Economic Review has really been an initiative from our side to elevate the oversight role that we have as a provincial treasury, the responsibilities of the MEC for Finance, to give guidance to municipalities in terms of the annual approval of the municipal budgets. And we had felt that given our assessments at that particular point when this project started, it was really at a surface level. In other words, what we got from the municipal budgets, the municipal IDPs, and we had felt that there is a level of further entrenchment that is required in terms of the quality of the data, but we also acknowledge that local government have a very important role to play in the economy. You know, people might view local government as the lower tier of government, but in actual fact, local government is a major catalyst for a lot of economic opportunity, economic development, and I think also a recognition that Gauteng, is a very urbanized province, and as such, our agility to respond to these push factors in the economy is quite important. And for that reason, we wanted to bring value to these reports that we give our municipalities. And also, one thing that has to be acknowledged is the entry point of our assessments going into the municipalities. And it's this kind of data that's going to feed into that overall assessment. And we see it really as policy guiding advice that we give from the MEC to the mayors, to the MMCs of finance, but also very importantly, it's when that entry point actually takes place. And that is when municipalities are busy compiling the integrated development plans and their budgets, and to add into that process and to give value to that. Maybe let me end there. I've got a couple of comments. But
all right, and I mean, you talk about the weight that Gauteng carries in the economy as well. And of course, we know that then the weight of the policy and the budget allocations need to match with that. Professor, just talk to me about what has this unearthed for you?
All right, thank you very much. Greetings, everyone. For me, MERO has somewhat given an idea of how the province, could intervene in municipalities. And my intervention or my understanding of, the way in which they could intervene, it's through supporting, some of these municipalities. When you look at the way in which the data has unearthed, it shows in some parts of the province, district municipalities, and as well as some provinces, there's rising high, unemployment. There's also the issue of indigence. And for me, the most important question would be how would the municipalities actually respond to that? For instance, through their various indigent policies, amongst other things, amongst other type of interventions. So of course, it also underscores the importance of municipalities in the daily livelihood of people. So it is important. It assists in terms of having that helicopter view for the province to actually get to understand what exactly is happening in each and every municipality within its jurisdiction.
Mr. Witboy, I mean, I from what Angelica said, I mean, there's this rapid urbanization, so meaning that the population is getting bigger in particularly some of the municipalities, not all of them, because we also do have some people then migrating to others to look for job opportunities. So you have this, population that is accelerating. And luckily, encouragingly, we do see some green shoots in that we are starting to see the economy pick up. But at the same time, job opportunities are still scarce. And because you see that these different provinces also have, not provinces, municipalities, have, different strengths, how then do you leverage that to say that this municipality employs most people in the tertiary sector and to actually match that with the skills that are available in the municipality?
That's a very good question. And I really want to approach that question, from a number of angles. I think, and the point MEC had raised is, we have universities that are producing future public servants, future, entrance into the economy, into the business world. And data like this is also intended to feed into the educational system and say, look, when you look at Gauteng's profile, and just in terms of what has been the driving economies within the various regions of the province, where those strengths lie, what are the kind, and again, as we had indicated, this is an inaugural report. So we are looking at even further scaling the quality of this report, the intelligence of this report. So for me, the next scale would then be to say, what is the kind of skill set that we are looking at? And this report really delving into that and connecting with our municipalities, as well as our academic institutions, in profiling the kind of skill that we do require, right? The other point that I want to make is, and to link onto a point that you mentioned earlier, the economic space and the spending power of Gauteng municipalities is very significant. And why I'm saying that is, I mentioned earlier in the year in one of our management engagements, the National Parliament published a report on local government spending in the country. And it was pegged, when you look at operating budgets, it was pegged at about 650 billion. That's what municipalities in the country are spending. Now, from Gauteng alone, about 211 billion, I just saw this morning statistics, are being spent within Gauteng. And the key question is, it's around it's about spending in our municipalities, and what is the public good being spent on in our municipalities to address some of these catalytic issues that we need to look at, and the value of local government budgets in contributing to that.
Yeah. And Professor, I mean, since now we're, talking about skills, and of course, since you are in that education landscape, what would you say about matching that with the actual strengths of the different municipalities?
Well, I think for now, what we are actually excited about is the, professionalization framework that, government has really developed. So with that, it aims at trying to create, a professional, it could be public service, and as well as, the service within municipalities. So in terms of skills, we do produce quite a lot. And what, we have seen as universities is a lot of, some of our graduates, after having completed, they then, go to other countries to serve. And I think with this kind of a report, it would really assist in terms of trying to identify which sectors really need, the skills, so that it informs as well the universities insofar as, what we really need to focus on in terms of developing the skills.
Yeah. I also did see that as much as there are differences in the different municipalities, but also there are common threats. For example, infrastructure and supply challenges in electricity, water, and gas. How high is that on the priority list, particularly in terms of driving investment into the municipalities, into the province, Mr. Witbooi?
Thank you very much. MEC made the point that, we are at the JSE. The MMC of Midvaal made a joke with me outside about funding of municipalities. And I said to the MMC, what greater place is there than here, where we have so many investment or financial industries. And when we look at the profile of municipal borrowing, many of these companies, they provide funding to municipalities. And again, statistics is so important. We talk about data here this morning. Gauteng's annual capital budgets is in the region of about 14 billion, out of 72 billion spent nationally. So Gauteng constitutes quite a greater proportion of capital spending. And what is important is that the sectors that you've mentioned, when you look at the spending of municipalities in terms of infrastructure, they are driven by that. But also the one reality that we are realizing is that municipalities don't have sufficient own revenue to finance this infrastructure, right? And certainly if municipalities do have that funding made available, certainly it can help them in terms of accelerating that infrastructure requirements that we need. And this report is certainly indicating that there is a need for acceleration of those sectors in terms of financing. And I'm hoping, that we have private sector in the room, because also one of the things that I wanted to mention, it is not just the public sector who are utilizing our documentation or have an interest. You have the banking sector, you have investors who have come to us on a number of occasions wanting to get an independent view of the finances of municipalities. And a tool of this nature would be empowering for them in terms of the kinds of financial decisions that we would like them to make, and obviously invest in our municipalities. And I think that's why we have our political leadership here of our municipalities, looking at those opportunities.
I'm just sticking with you, DDG, as we're talking about this investment, because of course this is a demand-supply issue, and they must match. You are demanding capital, and there is a supply of capital, but also the capital needs to feel at home. And I'm wondering then, how does the MERO capacitate municipalities to be able to show investors, particularly from the private sector, that actually my money is safe here and it can do what it needs to do?
I think what the MERO does this morning, it lends a voice to municipalities. Other than investors looking at the municipality's budget, its IDP, its service delivery and budget implementation plan, the MERO is now allowing an independent view from another sphere of government into the financial status of our municipalities, into where the challenges are within our municipalities, but it's also pointing to economic opportunities in terms of where investors can get involved. I mean, I'm thinking of public-private partnerships, and certainly a document of this nature, would give introspection in terms of that.
All right. But also really, I'm just wondering then, because there are different stages in terms of a resource allocation. I'm wondering then, where does MERO need to come in terms of the planning and making those decisions for budget allocation, Professor?
Well, I would really think that the document could be instrumental in municipal budgeting, specifically after the process has went on to communities for their inputs, and to really determine what is it that communities really want, and this MERO would daily assist insofar as trying to gauge the needs that are physically present in communities, and what the data are showing us, or the numbers are showing us, and as the cliche says, numbers don't lie. So with MERO, it would really assist in terms of decision making within the various municipalities.
Yeah, and I'm wondering also, DDG, does this also then, how fluid is this document? How fluid are the outcomes? Because obviously it's data dependent, and we know that data sometimes shifts. So how fluid then is the whole ecosystem in terms of what you get from the data, but also how you respond to it?
It's a very interesting topic, and one needs to be careful. As you're sitting next to an academic that would know much better than myself on the use of data. But it's a very good question, and I think your point are leading on to, so where are we taking this document? Where are we taking this publication? And certainly this is an inaugural publication. Also, when you look at the timing of the publication, it is intended to influence, as I've indicated, the annual municipal budget process. It is also going to be forming a segment of the MEC's policy note to the mayors on the findings of the budget. But also, where we want to scale it to is obviously there will be a continuous publication of this data going forward. Obviously, what we are going to look at, and in our consultations also with the municipalities, is to understand what kind of data would be valuable for them. Because this data set that you're looking here, yes, it's inaugural, it's maybe what a province had envisaged, but we understand we have a client. And we don't just have a client in our municipalities, we also have a client in the private sector that is interested in what's happening within government. And certainly what we want to do, our eventual dream, is to have this as a biannual publication, and also then to look at on a quarterly basis, in terms of, because the MEC would write quarterly to mayors on our findings on the implementation of the budget. We don't just leave it with the budget approval, but we are interested to understand how this budget is being implemented. How is it addressing the service delivery needs of our municipalities, and are municipalities staying true to the commitment that has been made? So our intention is to have potentially a quarterly note on this, but maybe at the minimal scale in terms of data.
Yeah.
And as you know, data is moving, and there's quite a hybrid of data. Angelique didn't go into where we got our data sources from,
Yeah.
but it requires quite a volume of data from different institutions. And also there's a reliability factor that you also need to take into account, as you start to triangulate the data and trying to pull, what we would call it the research prof, the themes that are emerging, from the data sets. So certainly that's where we are going in terms of vision. That might be altered as we go along because obviously our clients' needs are also quite important.
Yeah. Professor, I'm also wondering, with this kind of topic of fluidity on the document, and the first thing that Angelica actually pointed out is the constantly shifting political landscape globally, of course, that is now trickling down to how we work in South Africa. How then should the document move in tandem with those changes? And quite interestingly, you have some municipalities that are really dependent on the global economic landscape. You have the city of Tshwane that's export driven. You have, I think, is it city of Ekurhuleni that's very industrial, dependent on industrial inputs. How then does the document move with a shifting global economic landscape?
Well, firstly, when you look at research, you should not, obviously isolate it from what is, happening globally. But however, research is always considered as something that is constantly changing. We consider it as a dynamic, living organism. Because today, this morning, when we got into this seminar, the population of Johannesburg could have been on 15 million. By the time we leave here, it could be 20 million for all we know. So we have to at all times be agile and adapt to the sudden changes in respect of this MERO that was just presented. And I am glad to hear from Mr. Vetboy that they are going to use it also as a monitoring tool to check as to whether, what municipalities committed to, has indeed been delivered. And I think that would really guide, MERO insofar as looking at what are the current challenges at a particular point in time, and municipalities would then, speak to the provincial administration and advise the provincial administration on where they have shortcomings. And with that, it will obviously, make a few adaptations to the MERO to fit to the challenges of the day.
All right. Well, I am opening up the floor for a Q&A session. So is there a roving mic that we have? Yes, we do. So if you could please, for the questions that you have for the two gentlemen here on the impact of MERO and really how the municipalities should be using it. You can just state your name, put your hand up, state your name. Maybe not go into too much context so that we waste time, but please be concise and clear in your question. Tell us your name, where you are from, and also you can, just ask your question. There is a roving mic. If we can please have hands up. I think there's a hand that wants to come up here in front. Was hesitating there a little bit.
I was waiting for. Okay. Hi, my name is Karabo Mbele. The MERO does seem to be a positive document that should help us as Gauteng, especially within our municipalities. The abstracts were quite interesting. However, I felt that they weren't necessarily comprehensive in order for one who's looking for a document to say, I really want to delve in this because it deals with particular themes. So my question is to the both of you, looking at the abstracts, do you think that the MERO will definitely assist metros in terms of solving for job seekers, in terms of assisting metros in creating job opportunities? Does it assist in terms of them having looked at literature reviews, them definitely having looked at the methodology and data, and what they found in the data for each of the municipalities and how they have seen the gaps, which will then assist them to say, in this particular metro, in this particular municipality, this these are the gaps, and this is where the opportunities lie in terms of job opportunities. So I'd like to find out do we foresee that? And obviously, with the knowledge that we haven't read those 150 pages, and I think what would have also assisted us before coming here would have been to receive those particular documents so that we can have more interaction, to be able to criticize constructively and to have more meaningful conversations. At this point, of course, we're going to ask and shoot in the dark because we really don't know what is proposed in those particular documents, what the findings have been. I think at this point, we only know that the certain aspects of them finding this particular information is really from the department and various elements of literature. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, let's answer this question first, and then we can move on to the next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Karabo, for that interesting question. I also have a disclaimer. I have not seen the report as yet. The only thing that I also got was more of a, that helicopter kind of a view, a high-level view. But from that high-level view, one can make sense of, where industries are, in need of potential, employees. You look at the growth insofar as, industries that needs, that have opportunities. Like, for example, Angelica, when she presented, she spoke about the fact that in city of Tshwane, for instance, there is a high growth in terms of export market in the automotive industry. And this is largely due to, the Tshwane automotive special economic zone. That has actually created a lot of jobs. And even on the ground, you find a lot of people being, absorbed in those kind of industries. So for job seekers, it may be of a great resource insofar as assisting them to actually kind of look at where exactly in Gauteng, do I belong in terms of the skills that one possesses and where to, actually start looking for a job.
Thank you. I think the question on the report, certainly it's an element that we wanted to keep as a surprise because we wanted to keep you focused on some of the main elements. But the documents will be made available on the website of the Provincial Treasury. I think also what we didn't want to do is over 1,000 pages in terms of documentation, and to print all of those. I mean, we've gone digital. So certainly the intention is to make it available digitally. But MEC, I know, has asked me to write formally to mayors, and we will make sure that we have the stack of those documents, circulated, and where we do have other requests, certainly we will make those documents available. Certainly from where we are sitting, the MERO is an inaugural tool, right? And to try and assist our municipalities. And certainly this kind of input is very valuable to us in terms of that journey. But certainly what we wanted to unlock is to say, what are the economic push factors in our various municipalities? And are our municipalities, in terms of the municipal expenditure, starting to respond to some of those elements within the economy? And how are we addressing some of those very pivotal infrastructure issues? And also, very importantly for us, was also to put a spotlight on the economy, on the unemployment within our municipalities, and ask the greater question, how is municipal spending also responding, to elements of this nature? But certainly we welcome the input, and like I said, this is an inaugural step, and we will certainly take on, the suggestions and comments that we are getting in terms of the initiative. But thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And we do have a question here in front.
Thank you very much. My name is Mlule Ginkosi, the Executive Mayor of Lesedi Local Municipality. Maybe because this is a municipal economic review and outlook, it cannot pass without local government speaking. We are normally viewed as a complaining sphere of government. But this time around, more than anything, we want to pass our appreciation that the IGR framework is working, the intergovernmental framework is working today, and the district development model is working today. The MEC has put that into practice. We see that section 154 of the Constitution of the Republic is working today. And we appreciate the efforts that are made by the MEC. And we see this as a continuation of the investment conference that the MEC has undertaken in recent months. And we believe that this will take us forward to change the lives of our people going forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think just one more question. Okay, two more questions, and then we have to close the Q&A session.
Okay, thanks. My name is Councillor Lakisele, the Executive Mayor of Mohali City Local Municipality. I think I should also take cue in appreciating the tool that we'll be able to utilize in terms of planning and policy making and decision making in local government. But one of the critical components that I saw, and something that is persistent, is the issue of high unemployment in all municipalities in Gauteng, all of them closer to 30% unemployment. Now we can use this tool as local government and do all the planning and do everything that we're supposed to do. What is the role of private sector in terms of this particular document? Are they going to have an opportunity to also interact with it? Because local government is not, or government is not an employer. We can employ to a certain point. And we create this economic growth and opportunities for industries to thrive. All municipalities, in fact, all districts and metros demonstrate that there'll be growth in terms of the economy. And we're certainly going to focus on that as the political leadership. But what is the role of the private sector in terms of assisting us to alleviate the high unemployment that is lingering in all municipalities? Thank you.
And that is a very, very interesting point.
Well, for me, thanks, Councillor Lucky. What is interesting is that you have made mention of the fact that government is not an employer. But however, remember, decisions that municipalities make are the decisions that would actually attract some of these private investors. And I'm going to give you an example outside of Gauteng, fortunately. There was an incident where a municipality in Northwest Province was not servicing, a private investor that was there for many years, the Clover factory. And the Clover factory had to close down as a result of, municipality's failure to perform their constitutional mandate of providing basic services, water, electricity, maintenance of roads, and so on and so forth. And Clovers decided we are going to relocate to a municipality that will provide us with the necessary services for our production. So had there been policies in place in that specific municipalities that would say that are, local economic development driven, that is to say we are going to protect whatever private investors, have in our area of jurisdiction, it would have prevented that kind of a situation. So also as municipalities, I think, you have, this opportunity of using this MERO to say to private investors, look at what the outlook is insofar as our municipalities are concerned. And as a municipality, this is what interventions we would want to put in place to ensure that we are going to, create that environment that would be conducive for you as the private investors to flourish.
And it really speaks to the point, I think, that I made earlier on, that the policies really need to tell investors that your money has a home here. Yeah. One last question.
Thank you so much. Let me first by greeting. My name is Sarah Mabuchang. I'm the MMC for Economic Development and Special Planning in the City of Tshwane. So let me also join the queue to my colleagues to say we really appreciate this moment. With the launch of this MERO, I think it's going to come in very handy from the City of Tshwane in particular, because in April, we just launched what we called Tshwane Economic Revitalization Strategy. And with this strategy, what we did, we identified 11 sectors, including automotive, digital, township economy, and so many other economies. And in that economy, we had an ambition to say that what we want to do, we want to create close to 80,000 jobs in the next 5 years, and want to grow our economy by 3.9%, and want to grow the GDP from 17 to 24%. Billions of rent. So you can see it's a very ambitious strategy. But what we're saying the City of Tshwane, as it's been already there, we've got a lot of high employment rate in the City of Tshwane, yet we do have a lot of economic opportunities. So we're going to appeal to the private sector there to say, come on board. The City of Tshwane is so much ready in terms of the strategy, and in terms of the report that came last year. The City of Tshwane is one of the safest cities, especially in terms of investment. So also going to call upon a provincial and national treasury to say, we do have the strategy, we do have an implementation plan, we just need you guys to come on board so that we can be able to make sure that, our dreams is becoming a reality. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for you two gentlemen for your incredible insights. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure the audience can also interact with you individually after this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two more speakers before we close off, and I would like to call on Alderman Jongi Zizwe Dlabati, Chairperson of Salga Gauteng, to provide a response on behalf of municipalities before we get a vote of thanks from the HOD. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Initially, I was not on the program. I came here by invitation, representing my municipality, the seat of Ekurhuleni, as MMC of Finance. But the MEC whispered and said it will be a missed opportunity for Salga not to say something out of this launch. So it is in that context that I was sneaked in to be part of the program. But thank you very much, MEC, and I must say from the outset that we commend this initiative of launching the MERO. When I was preparing for my own budget speech, I actually looked for source document from Gauteng so that as we articulate that which we need to do, we align ourselves with the province. And I came across quite interesting document, the Gauteng Treasury Socio-Economic Review and Outlook document for 2025, and it was quite helpful. And I want to say to my colleagues across all the municipalities, let's interact with this MERO in conjunction with that particular document, because it does help a great deal. Secondly, MEC is to really emphasize the point that, data should be viewed as a single source of truth. Gone are the days where we plan without a reference to data. So let's see it as a single point of truth, because it does help us as municipalities not to be all over, but really to appreciate what is it that is core and focused in terms of our planning. And of course, data is integral as part of our planning processes. What we are proposing, MEC and your team, is that perhaps in our next ordinary PEC meeting of SALGA, we may have to extend an invitation to your good selves so that a presentation is also made to SALGA, probably not at the high level, but also covering some of the details around which all these metros and the districts are affected by the presentation. And I want to say that the future belongs to those who design it. Gauteng municipalities cannot design future without the use of data. So thank you very much for the opportunity, MEC.
Thank you very much. So, and really just speaking to, how credible this data also needs to be to ensure that everything that is done policy-wise does have credible evidence to back it up. Well, let us get to the vote of thanks, and I'd like to call Ncumi Zamyani, the HOD for the Gauteng Provincial Treasury. Thank you.
Good morning, MEC, executive mayors, MMCs around us, colleagues from both the local government and the provincial government, and our stakeholders, the media, and thank you very much for honoring the invitation. This week, on the 30th of June, in Spain, there will be a conference by the United Cities and local governments that will, I think it follows the conversation of today as far as the MERO is concerned, because that aspect is looking at financing for development, looking at the fact that in 2030, we're supposed to be getting close to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals as stipulated by the United Nations. Therefore, it says the planning should be on point, as it was highlighted today, that the planning which calls on, moves on to us eventually creating our budgets. And I was happy to hear the chairperson of SALGA, MMC Finance, saying you had a look at our CIRU. We know that the budgets have been passed for municipal space, but this is a tool as you plan for your adjustment budget going forward and the next main budgets that we're going to table as the municipalities. So I see this as a very important step, and how do we take the process forward. My reference to the Sustainable Development Goals is data out there indicates that local government and provincial governments are responsible for about 65% of the achievement of these Sustainable Development Goals globally. But then the conversation this week is about the fact that we can only jointly, local and provincial government, we can only access 1.5% of the official development assistance that goes into each and every country, that goes through the national sphere of government. So looking forward to the outcomes of that conference. All regions are represented. So I think together with all of these reports that we're getting, it's taking us closer to a step of ensuring that we plan and we take into consideration the needs on the ground. We would like to thank JSE as our host today, Ms. Vuyoli in absentia, and appreciating the SMME support programs that she highlighted that will ensure that, I think together here we have our colleagues, our sister department that is instrumental on issues of township economy. So these programs will assist these SMMEs to ensure that they gain market access to markets. Our EY team, led by Ms. Angelica Golika, who, it has been indicated that this is our inaugural report, so you can imagine the patience that they needed to have in navigating these waters with our team. We would like to really thank and acknowledge the EY team in that effort. Our panelists this morning, Mr. Vedboy and Professor Nkgopotse Madumo, I think what was coming out very strongly is that we're producing the graduates that we need as the institutions, and over and above the fact that the MERO is guiding us as the provincial treasurer in terms of the support that we're supposed to give to municipalities, and also the skills framework that you touch on, Prof, in terms of looking back, to also guide your offerings as educational institutions. So thank you very much for that conversations. Our executive mayors and MMC amongst us, these are the key role players in setting policies, in planning, and we appreciate the fact that you did hit the call and appreciated the importance of this inaugural MERO, but just to mark a milestone in the life of the provincial government or the Gauteng city region as a whole, including the municipalities. Our colleagues from the municipalities at large, the provincial departments, and all our government entities, because these are the implementers of all these policies that would have been crafted by our leaders in the form of the mayors and the executives. And I also would like to appreciate you because it shows the interest and the curiosity in the work that you do and how you would want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. Civil society who always hold us accountable, and I think it's important that we always given feedback in terms of the work that we do. So we thank you very much. Your input make us grow stronger and we do better every day. I would also like to thank our media who make sure all the time that the messages we want to share, because we're only a small group, but we all know the population of Gauteng is in the millions. The media that always heed our call to make sure that the messages that our MEC always leads us to present reach everyone, and not everyone should be with us physically in the presence, but to make sure that the message goes out there. And I would like to make a special mention of the Gauteng Provincial Treasury's Municipal Finance Management team led by Mr. Owen Vedboy. We appreciate the fact that you chose to be pioneers. You were not intimidated by the task that was put in front of yourselves, and it landed us to be where we are today. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And our ever so eloquent and vibrant program director of the day, thank you very much for always heeding the call. We know sometimes our notice is not very, but we really appreciate your effort, Ms. Unati Kuma. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and may you have a great day further. Thank you.
Right, one last word for me. You can't go without hearing from me. It's really been an incredible honor hosting this event and really just getting insights on this document, and quite encouraging to see the data that really will be driving policy decisions across the province as we grow Gauteng together to really revitalize the economy and municipality by municipality, and really hoping that the municipalities will also be strategizing and see where they can elevate their strategies also to make sure that the economic growth in the municipalities actually does translate to job opportunities. I do want to say to the media that, of course, we do have all sorts of members of the media. We will be giving you a chance to interact with the MEC, Honorable Lebogang Maile, and you can set up your cameras close to the entrance by the JSE banners for one-on-one interviews. Well, I would like to, I'm really, really encouraged by all the insights that we have gotten today, and really just some of what has stood out for me in terms of policy recommendations, of course, considering the fact that a significant amount of people live below the poverty line, so meaning that municipality revenues are under pressure, and it really, really is important to get the private sector into the conversation. But of course, this is a cycle, so municipalities need to ensure that the private sector is welcome, so that the private sector can actually come and do what it needs to in order to partner with the government. So thank you everyone for joining us for this, and hopefully you can use this document to really boost the work that you do within the municipalities. Do have a good day. That's it from me.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop this.